Hello, people. It is your good friend Chad Marco here again. So I haven't. I've been kind of absent for the previous week. Really, I haven't been around a lot this month. But I was kind of planning on dropping some new stuff the previous week, but I ran into an issue where the power cord for my laptop had basically, the little prong thing that goes into the wall. It snapped and it broke, and so I had to order another one. And then the card didn't go through, and I didn't realize it till 2 days later, so I had to order another one. It was a whole thing. And most of the content that I had prepared was on that laptop, and without the power cord, the battery is basically fried. So I couldn't turn on the laptop that had all the content up there that I was already preparing. So that's where I've been at. That's why I haven't uploaded anything last week, because again, power cord issues. But it finally came in the mail yesterday, so I'm going to be uploading pretty much something probably every day for the rest of the month, because I already had stuff lined up, including the podcast. But that aside, I'm really behind with the comments. And so I decided to just go ahead and make a video dedicated just answering some of the comments, to kind of get me caught up, because the comments for the next 2 episodes of the podcast are already already lined up. And so by the time I put out the podcast, going after those 2, there's probably gonna be a whole nother slew of comments. So I said, let me just go ahead and respond to some of the new comments that have already been posted. So that's what this video is about. I'm just a comment video where I'm just replying to different comments before the drop of the new podcast. So so let's get right into it. So Red Pill D Luffy says those women are monetized. That was on the so I signed up for the gym. I find that hilarious, because that's what Coach Greg Adams says a lot when he's talking about young, attractive women. A lot of times when you see women, god damn, that thumbnail, man. That thumbnail was good. But a lot of times when you see young, attractive women nowadays, they know what they have. They know the value of their bodies. It's just like today, I was watching, I was on the GIF board, and was it GIF? I think it was GIF. Nah, I think I was on Spank Bang, actually. And there were these clips, I guess, from a girl's OnlyFans, and it's just some white girl with like a big fat cottage cheese ass. But I'm looking at this girl, and it's like, she's my type. I like pogs, right? But I just found it so funny how I had a thought, at what point did she realize that she had a body that was capable of being monetized? At what point does a girl look at themselves and I'm not saying you got to be like a pog to have this realization, but that's kind of the thought that popped into my head. But the fact is, a lot of girls, when they recognize that they have something, one thing I noticed in particular, right? You'll see a lot of girls who have very large breasts, like H cup, G cup tier breasts. And then they'll do TikToks and whatnot, showing off their breasts, but acting like their breast isn't the center, stuff like that, right? And, I just think it's kind of another aspect of modern women and modern dating that kind of deters men, Now, I don't want to sit here and act like all women are doing it, but a lot of women are doing it. And some guys are more into it than others as far as being able to tolerate that sort of thing. But, it is what it is. So Toby Locke says on the Why I Give Girls the Ick video, probably the main reason these people call you goofy is because they perceive you as a low status guy who is unduly confident. And people really don't like that. If you went on wearing a slave collar suit and tie with a Ferrari in back, or reveal you had 1 million fans on Twitch, both the women and viewers will almost definitely be much more amicable. It's probably changed from goofy to play. You know what? I think that's true too, because look at somebody like Kai Cenat, right? Now, Kai Cenat is kind of a goofy nigga, right? But because he's so successful, like if somebody like him hopped on a Pineapple Show, people would just be like, "Oh shit, it's Kai Cenat." You know, I think it's kind of like that comedian effect, where you can have a quote unquote goofy personality, but if you are making money from it or you found like success with it, people don't really look at it like that. Like look at somebody like Kevin Hart, for example. He's another good example. Like his whole character and outward behaviors would normally be considered goofy. If he wasn't famous, Kevin Hart just acting like Kevin Hart, he would be like the goofy little short friend that you got. But because he's so successful, it's like, oh, that's Kevin. You know, it's cool when you're successful with that sort of behavior, you know. And but I guess that kind of just goes back to how, you know, fame and status kind of undoes a lot of things that would normally be considered weird or whatever. Also, being honest and real, unabashedly coming out with what should be the main deciding factor of a relationship, do you find me attractive, further repulses them because it shows you have enough self-respect to not want to be messed with or wasted, and you aren't going to play their game. Men act stoic and restrained around women because they know that's how the game is played. Women don't like exuberant guys who wear their heart on their sleeve. I think that's a big part of it too, because I think it kind of goes back to what I said before about how a lot of women really just don't like to be held accountable. And when you approach them with the opener that I do you find me attractive, you're immediately putting them in a situation where they're held accountable for what's really one of the most important aspects of an initial interaction. And like I said, I've watched the Pineapple Show quite a few times, and I've seen it so many times where guys would go up there and the girl would let them cook. I mean, to their credit, I'm not saying it like it's a bad thing, but the girl would go up there and let these guys talk. And then, you know, it'll fizzle out. And then Melly would ask them, so did you like him? And they'll say, oh, he was all right. He was cool. Which is basically just a way of saying, you know, we had a good conversation, but he's not the type of person that I would date. I didn't see him as fuckable. I didn't see him as dateable. And so my whole approach whenever I go up there is putting the am I fuckable, am I dateable first. And the thing is, if more guys did that, the Pineapple Show would go from being like an hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours long on average to being like a 40-minute show. I'm telling you. But it's the fact that they let guys go up there and just talk, when in reality, girls aren't much different from guys. They can look at a guy and for the most part tell whether or not they like him, whether or not they like. Girls don't need to hear your whole goddamn backstory, you know, to at least know if they find you attractive. It, like, of course, there's more into it, like, okay, how much money you make, where you live, etc., etc. But if you don't got that initial bang, that spark, that rah, most of what you say ultimately is gonna matter unless you're dealing with a gold digger. Where was I? This is why terms like toxic masculinity are gaslighting trash, because it's actually women who select these traits. These women aren't looking for intimacy and connection like you would be. They're looking for a guy with assets and status who can provide an easy ride. Why else would an expensive car matter? They'll gaslight and say that shows he's a hard worker, but nobody becomes friends with peers because they work hard. It's because they like them as people. It's convenient then that most women don't view men as peers but beneath them. They're the true ick. The example of the guy with a regular common job type getting rejected says it all. I had a bad experience with someone in that line of work is 100% just a cute rejection says it all. Wait, I got mixed up there. It's just a cute little smokescreen to hide the real motivation being she thinks the job and now the man is too low status. Any connection in the preceding dialogue is negated because she never really cared about him as a person to begin with. In any case, there's nothing goofy about you. You're just a chill, charismatic guy being real. Stay true, king. I love that though. I love that. The first part and the second part. I think you broke it down beautifully. I had a bad experience with someone in that line of work is 100% just a cute little smokescreen to hide the real motivation being she thinks the job and now the man is too low status. Any connection in the preceding dialogue is negated because she never really cared about him as a person to begin with. That's 100% that, and I think that really sums up a lot of dating nowadays, even for guys who are more successful. You know, I think there's like, this is kind of the ugly underlying aspect of dating from the female perspective, is how much of selecting a guy on their end is based on how useful they see him as a utility. You know, it's not about loyalty to the person just because of who they are. You know, ultimately, I think when women practice mate selection, now, of course, it can differ depending on what they're in the mood for, because there are some guys who just, women have a raw attraction towards, where just on a physical level, on a primal, instinctual, biological level, like they just make them wet. But I think, and it could just depend on her age or whatever the case may be. There's also that type of guy that a woman will select, not because she necessarily feels that raw attraction, but because they see that he would be, you know, a good utility. And then some girls, they look for both. You know, I want the guy that I'm attracted to, like heavily attracted to, but also I can use. But I think that's really like I'm not gonna say like it's necessarily unreasonable, but I think it's one of the aspects of dating that kind of makes the whole process depressing to me. Because on one hand, it's understandable that, you know, as a woman who is probably going to have kids one day, you know, you want to be taken care of. You want to be comfortable. You don't want to need for anything, you know, especially when you know that based on your physical appearance, you can get a guy who can put you in that position. And really, a lot of the girls on the Pineapple Show are already in that position with money they make themselves, you know. But I think on the other hand, though, it's depressing because it just how men are kind of just like rounded down to like the base utility of what you can do for them, as opposed to he's a good person, you know, I'm gonna ride with him through the ups and the downs of life. You know, I think that's kind of depressing. But there's nothing goofy about you. You're just a chill, charismatic guy, being real. You know, I'll say this. I think that the word goofy has kind of taken on, and really words in of themselves tend to take on new meanings as people use them, especially like for slang and lingo and shit. It's kind of like the word cope. Cope is actually not a bad thing. I made a thread about this the other day too, like talking about the word cope. If you look up the definition of cope, when a person copes, that means they successfully dealt with a setback or problem. Coping is not a bad thing. Coping is the successful processing or dealing with an issue or problem. But coping has gone on to become like this negative thing because of the way that the word is used on the internet. And goofy is kind of the same thing. I saw somebody, I think it was on Quora or something, and giving like two different versions of the definition of goofy. And I think that one of them was like someone who is harmlessly eccentric. And then the other one was like the more like insult version of how the word is used, like how people use it to insult somebody or put them down. But the first definition he gave, someone who is harmlessly, I felt like that. I was like, oh, that's me. You know, I can agree with the positive spin on the word. Like when I call myself goofy, I'm not saying it to put myself down, you know, because I know that goofy is a word that has gone on, or rather goofy is just one of those words that can be used in a good context or a bad context. And I think that generally now it's used in a bad context. But again, I think that the definition of, again, harmlessly eccentric, you know, there are a lot of people who are like that. And I think that kind of describes me to a T, really. Because look, I don't hurt nobody. I don't cause anybody any grief or problems. But I'm definitely kind of weird and eccentric. I can tell just from the way people respond to me. But like you said, I'm just being real. That's just my real personality. So then he goes on to say, if a young man gets married, starts a family, and spends the rest of his life working at a soul-destroying job, he is held up as an example of virtue and responsibility. The other type of man, living only for himself, working only for himself, doing first one thing and then another simply because he enjoys it and because he has to keep only himself, sleeping where he wants and when he wants, and facing women when he meets her on equal terms and not as one of a million slaves, is rejected by society. The free, unshackled man has no place in the midst. Quote from Esther Villar that sums up. Esther Villar was the author of The Manipulated Man, one of my favorite books. But yes, absolutely. But I think in a way, like, men kind of play into that perception as well. Like when you see all these guys who, like, I'll see guys who say, oh, the only purpose in life is to reproduce and get married and have, like, so you got, like, you can't just blame women for like propping up that ideal of what a man should be, because men play a big role in that too. And maybe that's just how they feel. I never felt that way. I think I obviously much more resonate with the second description of how a man could live, but it is what it is. So, haha, what a story mark says on the So I Signed Up for the Gym video. Great to hear you at the gym. It's a fun place to be. Just making sure you're eating right as well if you're working out that hard. Well, I still struggle with making sure that that my diet is clean, if you want to call it that. But I will say that one thing going to the gym has done is that it's got me more I guess one good thing about it in terms of my diet is that it's got me more concerned and what's the right word? It's got me more focused on my protein intake, if you want to call it that. Because obviously protein is the nutrient responsible for aiding muscle growth. And, I'm not in the gym just to be in there sweating. I'm trying to gain some size as well. So, and being in there with all them giga niggas and shit, it's like, it's motivational. So that's the one thing it's done as far as my diet, is that it's got me more, just trying to increase my protein intake. Like, I know, I've been eating more eggs and mixing it with, like, protein heavy, meats and things like that. Yogurts that are high in protein, drinking more milk, peanut butter, apples for the fiber, etc. So, I've made little adjustments to my diet, but I definitely still eat too much junk. Definitely. And I think the good thing about intermittent fasting is that it's allowed me to, it's definitely allowed me to manage my weight better. But I think the unfortunate thing about intermittent fasting is that, like, it's so good for maintaining your weight that it really does put you in kind of a position where you can kind of eat whatever you want. That's the bad thing about it. I can't even lie. Like, I know in my case, when I stick to an intermittent fasting diet, and I've been on it this whole year pretty much, I just know I can eat whatever I want and I'm not gonna gain but so much weight. And obviously that's offset by me working out and exercising and all that. But that's kind of the bad thing about it, is that it kind of makes me a little bit too reckless with what I eat, because I know that regardless of what I eat, I mean, I'll buy like a box of cakes and just blah, 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 blah. Right? I mean, I just go dumb some days, but I definitely got to reel it back in, because if I combine the intermittent fasting with the gym workouts and focusing on my micronutrients and the better diet, I mean, my physique could be really something special. Shinjay says on the same video, haven't been consistent with the gym lately. Definitely need to get back at it. Let's go. Let's do it. Gym neats. I made a thread talking about being a neat going to the gym, and I just find it kind of a funny concept, because being a neat is usually synonymous with being lazy, staying indoors all day and not doing anything productive. But I guess the cool thing about being a NEET is that you can go to the gym whenever. Like sometimes I go like 4 in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning. Some days I go like 11, 12 at noon. I might go 3 in the afternoon, 5, 6, whatever. I can just go whenever I want. The only thing about it though is that the gym it's not far, but you know, as someone who's not working, you know, again, gas, having to drive up there and drive back. Some days I just run up there, like when I'm really trying to go like Dragon Ball Z hard. I'll run up there, work out, run back. But that's the only thing about it is that, you know, just having to keep gas in the car to go back and forth up there. But it hasn't been too big of an issue so far. So Pumpkin says on the same video, have you noticed a change in your diet, either consciously or subconsciously? For example, I know a lot of people eat healthier if they are around people that are super into fitness and eat healthier as well and don't even realize it. I know you said you like to snack, but I was hoping you could talk about any diet changes you are doing or just planning on doing, or diet theory crafting. That could even be its own video, really. Do you take a shower with the boys at the gym? Yes, you are who you keep company. That's what DG1NR8 says. And like I said earlier, the one thing about going to the gym as far as, you know, the influence is just seeing those bigger guys in there. And I'm not trying to become a giga nigga, but I do want to, like, I guess I could say my long-term goal is to be comfortably at a light heavyweight weight, which is 175. And I was around 175 last year, but it was a lot of like I was big and in shape, but it was a lot of, not a lot, but what I noticed doing intermittent fasting was that 175 was like 10 pounds excess fat. And when I was doing intermittent fasting, I got rid of like a lot of the unnecessary fat, right? And so what I realized was that, okay, I need to build more muscle, because a lot of my size, well, not a lot, but some of that size I had at 175 was just excess fat. And I didn't realize that until I lost it through intermittent fasting. And so now I'm kind of looking at it like, okay, well, now I hover around like 165. So I need to gain about 10 pounds of muscle to get back up to 175, which is really where I want to kind of hover around comfortably. Like once, like I do, like after I sort of master 175, I want to at least touch 200 pounds one day. Not yet. But right now my goal is just to kind of master 175, which is like a light heavyweight basically. So that's where I'm trying to get to. 175, but in great shape, mostly muscle, not like fatty 175 that I was. Like, again, I wasn't fat, but it was just more fat than what I would really like. I put it like that. But again, going back to the original question, obviously to get to that point, I have to actually take more interest in the dieting aspect of it. Just going to the gym and, you know, banging out sets ain't gonna really get me there. Maybe it could, but not as quickly as I want. So that's why the one thing I will say that has changed in terms of my diet is that I'm more conscientious of consuming more protein. Like I said before, peanut butter. I've been drinking more milk, yogurt, eggs, meats that are high in protein, things like that. But I think I still kind of struggle with the whole, I just have a sweet tooth. I absolutely just have a sweet tooth. But that's something that's good. Like, as far as cutting things out, I obviously got to reduce the sugar. And as far as adding on, eat more vegetables, more protein. That's the goal. So T-Dot's Finest says on the same video, what is your main workout, Chad? Do you use barbells? Barbells are, that's where you do the bench press, right? So before I started going to the gym, I do have a barbell, but it's not a very heavy one. It just, I just had 225-pound weights on either side. Or rather 125-pound weight on both sides. And I would just do high reps with that, have some dumbbells. But at the gym, I'm still trying to figure out a routine because there's a lot to work with there. But I have been doing bench press. My goal is to work myself up to what they call 2 plates. So one of the most common fitness goals for men is to be able to bench 225 pounds. And that's basically what I've set my goal as for now. Like that's my big fitness goal for the coming months, is to work myself up to being able to bench 225, which is basically 245-pound weights on both sides of the bar. Right now, I'm doing, let me see, what's the exact weight? I'm not sure, but I know it's a 45 and a 10 on both sides of the bar. That's where I'm at now, doing 3 sets of 10 with that. But other than that, I do dumbbell exercises like curls. I'll curl I'll curl 35s, maybe do like 20, 30 reps with 35s, and then I'll do like 50 push-ups between the sets. And I love the pull down machine. That's one of my favorite, where you pull the bar down and the weight goes up. I love that. Every time I use that shit, I think about that scene in Predator, in the first Predator movie, when they're setting up the trap for the Predator, and they're all like no shirt on, muscular, just pulling rope. And I always think about that scene, but that's my new favorite workout right there. That fucking pull down machine. Oh man, that is my shit right there. But and I don't know if is it called the elliptical. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but it's like a cardio machine where you're it's like you gotta, like, you're doing a running motion, like you're pedaling, but you're not sitting down. maybe that's what it's called. I'm not sure what it's called, but I know it's like you're doing a pedaling motion, but you're not like sitting down. You're standing up, and I crank that resistance, man. I turn that resistance up high. I love that one too. That's another one of my new favorite machines. Like, that's a way to get some cardio in, because really, I don't like running on a treadmill. So I don't use the treadmills there. I like running free. I like running up the street. So I don't use the treadmills in there, but I like that I guess I'm assuming it's called an elliptical. I feel like that's what I heard it called before, but I could be wrong. But I just know it's a machine you stand up on. It's like you do a pedaling motion, and it's easy when the resistance is low, but when you turn that shit up to like 20, oh my God. And it's such a great workout, because you just feel it all in your legs, you feel it in your thighs, you feel it in your ass. You feel it in your lower back. I love it. That's one of my favorite cardio machines there. And then you got like the different other machines where you like I don't know what most of these are called, but where you just do like different arm motions, and then the weights go up or whatever. Stuff like that. But I'm still trying to, again, just get a feel for the gym and set up a good routine for myself, and kind of learn the machines one by one, because I don't want to get on something I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I'm just kind of taking it one step at a time. But generally speaking, when I'm at the gym, I get a good, like, at least an hour long workout in. But I've been staying a bit longer, actually, like get like hour 15, hour and 30, because I really just enjoy it. And I'm definitely noticing, like, physically, maybe it's a bit of a placebo, but as I look at myself in my door mirror, my chest is popping out. So Drew says, on the MGTOW Truth video, I'm not gonna lie, I agree with a lot of your sentiments. Just turned 24, similar story, get choosing signals, and I'm too in my head to approach for a multitude of reasons. The solitude part is a kicker. I love my own autonomy and being able to do my thing freely without restrictions or obligations. Maybe I'm coping, but I don't know. You know, the funny thing about, you know, getting choosing signals, but I'm in my own head too much to approach. Like, I think I was talking about that in a thread the other day. I've been posting on fucking 4chan way too much this week too. That's another reason why I haven't been around. But I was kind of having like a similar conversation with somebody who I guess I'm assuming like he been through the same thing, but he kind of overcame it. But the conversation got me thinking about exactly what you said, like how even when we're in these situations where girls might show interest in you, it's so easy to think yourself out of it. You know, like I remember like one of the girls in the neighborhood that works at one of the stores around here who I kind of been getting that sense that she might be choosing. Like, this is a good example of how like guys get in their own head, right? So we were having a conversation, like a quick conversation, because when I seen her, I was like, she said hello, you know, just as she works there, so she greets me as, you know, normal shit. And I said, she said, how you doing? And I said, I'm doing fantastic, ma'am. And then she said, why are you calling me ma'am? I think you're older than I am. And then I asked her, oh, how do you know how old I am? And she said, aren't you like 20? She said like 23, 24 or something like that, right? And I laughed. And I said, no, I'm actually 30. And you know, and then she said something about maybe it must be because you work out so much or something, because she see me running around town and shit. And so, like, now again, this is a girl who's been pretty much every time I see her, she's always starting like a small conversation with me. Some people would say that's a choosing signal, whatever. But now I'm like, okay, she probably looks at me now like, oh, he's 30, he too old for me or something like that. And as I had that thought, I was just like, damn, like this is how niggas really just, this is how niggas can talk themselves out of pussy, right? And I could be right, I could be wrong, I don't know. But it's so easy to talk yourself out of pussy over shit like that. Cause now I feel like, oh, maybe she like me, but if she know that I'm 30, now that she know that I'm 30, maybe she look at me as being too old. Maybe she do, maybe she don't. But that's the type of shit where you get in your own head and you can just cock block yourself. And when I think back to, in fact, it was another situation today where I seen a girl walking to the store, and I wasn't looking too hard, but I noticed that she had a nice body because she had on like some not booty shorts, but she had on some short shorts. I just seen thick old thighs, and I'm like, oh yeah, but I won't like staring hard, and then I notice it, and then I just, you know, whatever. And she comes into the store, and when she's coming into the store, I'm about to check out. And when she comes in, she just kind of just disappears, right? And so I'm checking out and I'm about to leave, and I notice right as I leave, she's leaving right at the same time as me. And now I'm having a moment where I'm having two different trains of thoughts. Now, one side, it's just like the Couldn't Say Hello song, right? She probably has a boyfriend, yada, yada, right? But there's one part of my brain that's like, okay, that's kind of strange. The fact that she comes into the store and then just happens to not even buy anything, but just happens to leave right as I mean, it was almost too perfect, because when I say we left that store at the same time, we walked right beside each other. You would have thought we were a goddamn couple. the way we were walking like next to each other, leaving the store, going to our respective vehicles. For a second, I was just thinking like, oh, this must be how it feels to have a girlfriend. But that's how the timing was so perfect. And so one part of my brain is like, okay, that was just a coincidence. The other part of my brain was like, she might have actually set that up. She might have seen you when she came to the store and was like, let me position myself so he see me But you never really know because it's just that's how subtle girls operate. Sometimes you just never. It could have been a coincidence. It could have been her just trying to position herself so that I could see her. I always remember there's a story by Sugar Ray Robinson where he talks about, Sugar Ray Robinson was a boxer, and he talked about how he met his wife. He was at the pool, and he said this girl just kept walking past him as he was standing by the pool. And he said, the next time she do it, I'm going to push her in the pool. And she did it, and he pushed her in there. And that's how he met his wife. But girls do shit like that. But the point is just that it's because girls are so subtle with their choosing signals, you can easily talk yourself out of it by saying, oh, it's not like, I'm not seeing what I think I see. I'm not, man, I could do a whole episode on choosing signals. Because I've had a lot of those moments. Oh man, but the solitude part is the kicker. I'm continuing here with his post. I love my own autonomy and being able to do my thing freely without restrictions or obligations. Maybe I'm coping, but I don't know. I don't think it's a cope. I don't, a lot of people like to say MGTOW is a cope. I already talked about it. Of course, I'm biased given the fact that, MGTOW is a movement that has always resonated with me. But it's a cope. I think that, and this is part of the problem, is that whenever we have this conversation about being single versus having a girlfriend, people always jump to the extreme. I think that it would be a cope to say, I'd rather be single than to have the perfect girlfriend. Like, okay. There are very few people who are so, and I love solitude. I love being single, but would I choose it over the perfect, like perfect, the perfectly constructed design anime waifu pog, right? No. I think the problem with this conversation is that people see it as a cope because they feel like you're saying solitude is better than having a good girlfriend. And I don't think any guy is saying that. I think anytime you have guys like yourself or like myself or other men who talk about why we love being single, why we love solitude, it's because we understand that the chances of finding a girl who's going to be, one, attractive, but also be compatible with us to the point where we can maintain the level of autonomy and freedom that we currently enjoy, is very unlikely. And that's why when guys like yourself and myself, when we say, oh, I love solitude, I love being single, it's because more than likely we know that we're not going to find a girl, at least no time soon. It's not that it's impossible, but it's the odds, the odds are in your favor because it's hard enough for a lot of guys just to get a girlfriend, period. Then on top of that, like that's why like getting the girl is the tip of the iceberg. Then you got to be compatible, and it's a lot of shit after that. And I think that when we talk about how much we love our solitude and our freedom, it's because the simple truth is it's going to be difficult to find a girl that's going to allow you to keep doing your own thing. My best friend actually came over the other night and we had a good conversation. We were kind of reminiscing about when he went off to college and met his first girlfriend and shit like that. And, he always gave me the play-by-play throughout the entirety of his relationship with his first serious girlfriend. But, he said something that really stood out to me. And I thought was a very good point that he made. And he said that he felt like a big part of why that relationship didn't work out, other than her being kind of cuckoo. She was kind of crazy too, but it wasn't just her. It was, it was him too. He said that on his side, he said that he wasn't mature enough or in a position to afford her the kind of lifestyle that she really wanted. So basically his first serious relationship was a situation where he was dating a very cute girl who could have easily had, options with other guys, but she selected him. But the price of maintaining that relationship was that he had to meet the needs that she sort of laid out. Like, cause she was the type of girl that she just wanted to live a certain lifestyle that he really wasn't accustomed to or in a position to provide for a female. He was, again, this is a guy who was in college, still very, very much immature and finding himself, pothead, stuff like that. Now he's dealing with a girl who's like, we need a house, we need a car, we need to go on trips, and we got to go on expensive dates. And he said that he tried his best to conform to what she wanted him to be at that time. And he said, looking back, he just wasn't ready for that. He wasn't ready to be what she wanted him to be at that point in his life. And the whole point I'm trying to make here, though, is that, that situation is a good example of how when you get with a girl, it's not like she's just gonna be giving you pussy and you can just keep trying to be Chad Marco the rapper. Right? I might look for a job, I might not. That ain't gonna fly. That shit might be cool for a month or two, and then it's gonna be when you go right. When you gonna do this? When you gonna do that? Because they're gonna want you to, and you're gonna lose some of that freedom. You're gonna lose some of that autonomy and personal space and solitude as you start combining your lives together. And depending on the person, giving up some of that isn't always necessarily a bad thing, but I think it depends on the person. Simba Trey says on the Why I Give Girls to Ick video, yeah, definitely don't change. Love you being goofy, if that's what you call it. It's just like you being you, never change, man. And music wise, state my 2 favorite tracks are Life is Neat and Dinner with the Folks. Love how your music gives me Juice WRLD vibes in the sense of being depressing and heartbreaking, or having trouble with girls, but with a killer beat and flow. And I find it so funny. I've said this before, but I think if people just listen to my music, they would think I was the most depressed incel motherfucker in the world. And I'm happy as fuck. I've always embraced being single. I've embraced being a virgin, but I just love making music about unrequited love. I love making sad boy music. I love making sad, and I think because the fact is, I haven't always been this happy. I haven't always been this positive. So, I can make music like that because I'm drawing inspiration from my past experiences and really even sometimes current experiences. Because, I'm not always all chipper and shit. I just don't really get like depressed to the point of like, woe is me or anything like that. And I get that feel with no girlfriend every now and then, just again, not to let me rope because I'm not getting pussy. It's not that serious, but I do love making music like that. Some of my favorite. So Black Incel Neat, Black Cell Neat says on the same video, I love that you're so comfortable in your own skin, Chad. I hope to reach that level of self-acceptance one day. That's a good idea for a video. I love that you're so comfortable in your own skin, Chad. What is the secret? Have I thought about this? When you're a content creator, you got to always have an eye for content. I don't want to give away too much, but I could give like a chicken nugget up. I ain't got to give up the whole chicken, but I can give up a nugget real quick if I can try to sum it up. But I think that I described it very well in the video towards the end, where I talked about how when you love yourself and when you kind of frame it like you're 2 separate people, if you can, where if you have a friend or a family member that's eccentric or weird, but you just love them for who they are, that's just how I feel about myself. And when you have a friend that you really fuck with, that you really love, you're going to stand by their friend. You're not going to let other people put him down or cause you to separate yourself from him because of what they think. If you're a real loyal ride or die type friend, and that's just how I feel about myself. When I see myself and my goofiness or eccentricities, I think it's funny. I think it's cool. And, you know, I've always lived my life just always prioritizing being myself. And I think that one of the most cool things about being yourself is seeing how people respond to you. And I just find it amusing, you know, because once you get over that fear of worrying about how people are going to respond to you, you can enjoy the responses, whatever they may be, you know. And I think a lot of times when people hide certain aspects of who they are, or when they try to change themselves or conform, we oftentimes lose the more interesting aspects of our personality. And I think people just begin to kind of turn into like just gray blobs of, I don't want to use the word sheeple, but it's like if everybody's conforming and trying to act the same way, then we're not seeing as much interesting behavior. You know, we're not seeing different opinions and ways of thinking and behaving and dressing. You know, it's kind of like when you see certain motherfuckers in the NBA, how they show up dressed like like Russell Westbrook, how they come dressed sometimes. And it's like, that's just when you get to that point when you just don't give a fuck. And of course, people talk shit, make fun of, but I think when people really be themselves, you will see some of the most craziest ways and forms of self-expression. And, you know, I just try to make sure that I do my part as far as being myself. So in the same video, Willem Dafoe says, you don't play the game, and they can sense it. They probably don't understand it on the intellectual level, but they do subconsciously recognize when somebody they're dealing with can be played with or can't be. See, that's interesting. Is it conscious or is it subconscious? But I think he is exactly right. I'm not playing the game. And the game, when you deal with women, is to basically walk on eggshells. You know, don't say the wrong thing. You know, don't say this, don't do that. Man, when did I don't know if it was a video or a post on 4chan, but I thought this shit was so funny because somebody said something that was kind of pertaining to this, where it was like, he said something like, I'm sick of the whole process of dating where it's like, basically talking about what I'm talking about here, where it's like, you got to play the game. And how girls just always looking for a reason to reject you or disqualify you. And then, like, he said something funny. He was like, you could do everything right on a date, but then you picked up a coat wrong and then that gave her the ick, and then that's it. You know, and I think most guys, they understand the game and they just say fuck it and they play it. And that means that they accept that I have to make sure that I select and choose the right responses and say the right things and do this and do that. And I think that it's like you said, is it conscious or is it subconscious? I'm not exactly sure. You know, how do women really feel as a man approaches them and is really shooting their shot? Cause I think if you want to ride with the analogy of shooting your shot, which is based on basketball, I think that the average guy, they go to the free throw line and they dribble twice, take a deep breath, you know, and they bend the knee and get in proper form, and right, they go through the whole process of properly shooting the shot. Me, I'm like, I get the ball and I throw it in the air and catch it. Right? Just real quick, just throw it in the air. I'll bounce it real hard, see how far it go in the air. I start running around. Look, I start like dribbling and putting it through the leg. And then I'll run to the other side of the court and then try to throw it over my back, like throw it like behind the back, over the shoulder, no look. Basically, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just having fun. I'm not trying to, you know, Like, but do they sense it? Like, can they tell off the rip that, okay, this, cause really the thing is, I noticed that Melly, she thinks I'm a troll. I'm not trolling when I go up there. Like, I'm not going up there trying to disrupt the show, and I'm really not. Like, I'm not seriously trying. Like, look, I'm not delusional enough to think that me and or 99% of the guys that go up there have any chance with these girls. So of course I'm not going up there with my A game, if I have game at all. But at the same time, I'm not going up there like purposefully trying to, like, you know, get pineappled or cause a disruption. You know, when I go up there, my whole mentality is really just like, you know, what's the best given the circumstances, what's the best approach to deal with or to shoot my shot here? Because to me, playing 21 questions is just a waste of time. If the girl does not have a strong initial attraction to you, more than likely it's not gonna, it don't matter what the fuck you say. So my approach is really just based off that understanding. And I'm not saying it's a perfect philosophy. I'm just saying that I've watched this show enough to know that most of the guys that get up there, they don't just talk themselves into that girl liking them. The ones who actually do get a positive response from the girl towards the end, they also got a positive response right from the beginning with the first, like from the first initial whatever they were talking about. You could already see it, like, okay, we got something here. You know, it didn't take 10 questions and then never seen that. So, on the same video, Breezy Love Machine says, loving these short discussion videos. You know, we're going to have a lot more of these because I think it's the easiest way for me to be consistent. Because when it comes to music, obviously music is my bread and butter, but I take my time with music. I put it like that. I take my time with music, and like I can work on one song for days, you know. And I tend to kind of want to release stuff. Like now I want to put projects out more in like a complete form than just putting out video here, video there, video there, right? Song here, song there, song there. I want to kind of just put it out in a more complete version. So in the meantime, like right now, I'm working on Robot Music 9003. I can do these short videos where I just discuss maybe a thread I saw on 4chan or, you know, so just something that was on my mind, whatever the case may be. And then we got the podcast. So I think with those, you know, it's just a way to keep the content flowing throughout the month. And of course, the gaming channel. So, you know, this summer is going to be, in a way, an experimentation for me. Because I'm going to really go hard in terms of putting out more content. And especially, like you said, the short discussion videos. I think that's going to be something that could really just allow me to keep up more consistency. Okay, so Jack Mack says, what episodes were your appearances? And then Richard Bug says, for real, I want to watch. And then Hellbreaker says, he's dumping all the clips on Discord. So, the next podcast is the Patrice O'Neal episode. Then there's going to be an episode where I'm interviewing transsexuals. After that is going to be the Choosing Signal episode. And then it's going to be the Pineapple episode. So it's going to be a little while. But I think that based on what I'm looking at, the Pineapple episode might be out early July. That's early July, right? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, early July. Because I'm still going up there trying to get more clips and reactions from the girls and shit like that. So I have quite a few already, but we wanted a bit more to make sure we got enough for a whole episode. So Simba Trey says on the Nightwalk vlog, episode 23, should you tell girls you are a virgin? I agree with a lot you say, but totally disagree, guys. If you want to get with women, do not, I repeat, do not tell her you are a virgin. If you're a one, you're making your small dating pool, which is already small. You're making your small dating pool, which is already small, because you are a man, even smaller. That type of advice that if you're a virgin will help keep you one. It's not impossible to get with girl telling her you're a virgin, but a lot more likely she will not keep interest. It also gives her more power in their relationship. In her head, she's like, this guy hasn't even got any other woman's approval in his whole life. There must be some red flags, and she will move on. That's the way women think. Now see, Simba Trey is not wrong. He is not wrong. And you guys know I give my philosophy when it comes to dating and sex but remember, I'm a virgin. So everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt, because my mentality is different. I don't give a fuck. If I die a virgin, fuck it. If that's not the kind of time you own, you better not be internalizing my advice on women. When I say I don't give a fuck, I don't care. Dude, if I died right now, my biggest regret would be the fact that I wasn't able to accomplish my dream of becoming a successful content creator, moving out of my mom's house, making more music. Like, that's what would hurt me. I can live with fuck that. Look, I would love to have a girlfriend someday. Don't get me wrong. I see pretty girls and I ooh and I ah, and you know, girls are nice to me. I imagine life, all this, the basic shit. But as far as like giving a fuck to the point where I would lie about being a virgin, no. But like I said, Simba Trey is not wrong. Women are in a position in dating of extreme leverage with most men. And they're looking for any reason to reject you. Like, I think when girls date, they're not really looking for your good qualities as much as they're probably looking for a reason not to date you. And I think a lot of that just comes down to the fact that they have so many options. So at that point, it's just like any little thing could just give them like, guys always wonder, why did I get ghosted? Why did I get flaked on? Well, motherfucker, she probably got like 10, 15, 20 other dudes she's talking to. I remember I was watching this one video. It was this lady, and I mean, no offense, but she was like a 4. But she was like not a dating coach, I think she was a matchmaker. And she said before she got married, she was talking to like 14 different dudes. And when I say talking, I mean like dating and evaluating. So that's the position. She was a 4. We don't want 4s over here, I'm assuming. We want 5s and 6s. So imagine what we got to deal with. And so you going around telling this girl you're a virgin. Most girl, I don't care what. Look, you can go on 4chan and make a thread on ADV. Girls, do you really care about a guy being a virgin? Go to Reddit. You'll find some girls that'll say I don't care or whatever. But like Simba is saying, you're much more likely to run into the girl that's gonna be like, nah, I'm not. Like that's. And I think part of it is just due to the fact that women are such big conformists, and they want a guy that's normal. And I think a man being a virgin is such an abnormal state in today's society. And that really is not even, if we're being real about it, it's just that guys don't openly talk about it the way that I do, or some other guys do. But it really is an abnormal state in terms of like what people are used to. There are a lot of male virgins out there, but most of them just ain't talking about it. And I think that telling a girl you're a virgin it's either going to fascinate her, and I think that's rare. But it's either going to fascinate her or it's going to give her a massive ick. It's going to turn her off in a big way. But I think And you do have the. I will say this. I will say this. There are some girls out there that are like considered virgin hunters. I would be worried of them because I've always heard bad stories about girls like that. I've heard nothing but bad stories about the girl when girls get excited about it. I've heard nothing but bad stories about that. But you know, it is what it is. But still, having said that, let me tell you this. I guarantee you, if I ever meet a girl and we're talking, dating, whatever you want to call it, I'm telling her I'm a virgin. I'm telling her. And one, the first reason is obvious because I don't give a fuck. But two is this. It's like I said before, I love myself so much. Obviously, I know I'm a virgin. But part of the reason why I embraced it was because I never saw it as a bad thing. To me, it's honestly not a bad thing. To you, Simba, it's not a bad thing. To all you guys watching this video, you accept me for who I am because you know that I'm a good person. You know that I'm an awesome motherfucker. And the truth is, for me, I only want to deal with people who see me as such. If I tell a girl that I'm a virgin and she loses all attraction for me, so be it. I don't want to deal with her in the first place because by rejecting me over being a virgin, she has rejected my very soul, my very person, who I am. A quality, just one trait, one thing. Like really think about that. Like, think about how insignificant of a trait being a virgin really is compared to the greatness of who I am. But that's all it takes for her to reject me. That means that she never saw the greatness in me to begin with. I believe if a girl would reject you over like little petty shit like that, you were always on the edge of the cliff to begin with. And I can't tell other guys what type of women they should deal with, but I know I don't want to deal with girls like that. I want the girl who could find out that I'm a virgin, but even if she don't like it, even if she don't necessarily like it, she can say, okay, but damn, I like this nigga so much, fuck it. That's the girl that I want. Maybe she exists, maybe she don't. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. But I would never want to be with a girl that will reject me over something so petty, over something so insignificant, at least in my eyes. Now, I will say this. I think one valid reason a girl would have for not wanting to date a virgin is the lack of experience. Maybe you just don't want to deal with the process of trying to, I got to teach this nigga how to fuck. But I understand that. But if that's the case, that just means we're not compatible. So it is what it is. If we're not compatible, I'm not going to lie, just to get, like, it's to me, it's just not that serious to be lying out here over this shit. Cause either you're lying to be with somebody who don't really fuck with you, or you're lying to be with somebody that you're not even compatible with. I just don't see the point. But again, I don't give a fuck either. So, Saitoria Blue says on the NTR song, amazing flow, but your beat game is absolutely incredible, Chad. What's the sample? Like the flute? Swear I've heard it before. I'm not sure. I think it might be Zelda Ocarina of Time. That's what that flute sounds like. Like every time I listen to that beat, I just think it's Zelda. I'm not sure though, cause I know I got a lot of video game samples in my sample library on my FL Studio program. I got a ton of video game samples, so maybe, but that's what I always think of is Zelda. Zelda always pops to my head when I hear that beat. So Simba Trey says on the How I Became a 30-Year-Old Virgin video, shout out to Melly Monaco. Sub, couldn't stop laughing for your Melanie video. I respect you so much, bro, for your openness, especially as a man. We all were virgins at once. I lost mine at 16 and dated others in high school. I would say, bro, I do want you to get some pussy. And even more than that, meaningful relationships with women. And strong bonds besides just sex. Relationships with women are awesome. Just on a more social level. It's not all about sex even in relationships. You don't have sex 90 times a week. Probably once or twice. So just experience a relationship, my brother. It's awesome just chilling with a woman you vibe with. Also, I fuck with anime heavy and like your channel because that too of your music is hit or miss. But you got some bangers in there too. But yeah, I'm sub like your commentary. Also, I was the same way getting in the red pill community, and those two things were big to me too. Child support and divorce. But there a red pill YouTuber named Angry Man. He's awesome. Who's red pill and still says it's worth the risk to date women. And if you're really scared of child support and divorce, then just don't get married or have kids. We got a new subscriber, Simba Trey. Welcome. But you know what? I love what he had to say here. You know, I do want you to get some pussy. And even more than that, meaningful relationship. I love that. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say, hold up. I'm not going to sit here and say I deserve to get some pussy. I would never say something so absurd. And I know that, in fact, yesterday was the anniversary of Elliot Rodgers, the Supreme Gentleman, the Santa Barbara Massacre, etc. And one thing he would say, he would always compare himself to other guys. Like, how do these barbarians get to have sex and me, a perfect gentleman? Like, I don't want to sound like Elliot Rodgers, right? But the fact is, when I look at myself, I like myself. I think I'm an awesome person. I can see why girls don't like me. That's whatever. But I think even within myself, I have this sense of like, damn, dude, like, you probably should get some, like, damn, like, I get it. And this is me kind of talking to myself, like separate from myself, within myself, if that makes sense. But I can look at myself and say, like, I get it. You could die a virgin and be cool with it. But you a motherfucker who should, like, damn. like the fucking cretins out here that get pussy. And this awesome motherfucker is gonna die a virgin. Like, what's wrong with the world? Like, this motherfucker is awesome. Great personality, creative, wise, broke as a joke, but damn, that ain't never stopped nobody from having kids, right? And so that's why I appreciate that sentiment, because I think even within myself, I kind of look at myself like, damn, like, you know, yeah, you don't give a fuck, but man, like, damn, Lord God, can you throw him one? Just be like, he's been through enough. He's been through enough. He ain't complained. He ain't gone no mass shooting spree. He ain't like I'm not even one of these guys that's like, fuck bitches. We need to take down feminism. We need to end feminism. Women need to go back to the kitchen. I'm not even on no shit like that. I'm not even on that tip. I'm like, let women be, let live and let live, man. I adopted a stray dog and oh man, like, whoa. But you know, it is what it is. I think that what did he say? Okay. It's not all about sex, even in relationships. You don't have sex 90 times a week, probably once or twice. So just experience a relationship, my brother. It's awesome just chilling with a woman you vibe with. And whenever I think about being in a relationship, whenever I allow my mind to drift off to those impossible realities, I do think about like the full experience. I don't just think about wanting to put my face between the girl's butt cheeks. I also envision, just hanging out and kicking it, right? Talking about life, eating together, sleeping together, cuddling and pillow talking, even the inevitable arguments, right? And the little fights and shit like that. Nothing crazy, but I kind of picture the whole experience. And I think that even though I'm fine if it never happens, it is an experience that I would like to have. I would like to have those experiences, but I don't think I could ever really view it as something that was mandatory, because I think ultimately it's based on trying to make, or rather you're relying on somebody to like you to pull it off. And and especially when you're talking about girls, that in of itself can be such a difficult thing. Even, Simba himself said how disastrous it can be telling a girl that you're a virgin, right? And like, those are the barriers that I have to overcome to get those experiences. And I think that in my case, it's easy to say, oh, well, just don't tell her or whatever, this and that. But then would I be the Chad Marco that I love so much? Would I be the Chad Marco that you guys love so much? And so when I look at the challenge of trying to get a girlfriend, I don't think I could ever really prioritize it or take it that seriously, because of what it really takes. As far as like how much of the game is based on having to lie, having to conform, and sometimes pretend and all that. Like, I can't really set my mind up to really take it seriously as a goal because of what it can take, But like he said, I think that it would be, if any motherfucking virgin on this planet deserve, and I hate to use that word, but damn, it would be Chad Marco. So Black Cell Neat says on The Truth About Going Your Own Way, great video once again, Chad. As for myself, I've always been indifferent towards relationships since I can remember. I did have a dream when I was 7 of getting married when I was 24. Now I'm 25. I am open to degeneracy, casual sex though, as long as it's safe. I love the honesty. I'm open to degeneracy and casual sex. I remember I was watching a video where the streamer Destiny was having a conversation with these conservative guys, and he was talking about red pill dudes, and he was like, he said they don't want conservative women, they want hoes with low body count. He said they want hoes with low body counts. And I was like, I think that's pretty accurate. But I had a dream. I think it's kind of funny that I think back to it. I had a dream that I was in. This was years ago. Maybe I was in my late teens. I think I was around my late teens or something. But it was a dream where I was on this big adventure, right? And I was like an anime character or something. And I had the whole thing, right? I had a whole anime team, right? A whole cast of characters as allies, kind of like a One Piece type group, right? And I remember at the end of the adventure, it was the moment where I was supposed to get the girl, right? I was supposed to get the obligatory love interest. And I remember, like, the best friend character in the group, I basically shifted it to where I was like, I gave him the girl. I was like, take care of her. I'm dipping out. And I just kind of just went my own way. And that's how the dream ended. It was just like the end of Gurren. Like maybe I had that dream because I watched Gurren Lagann. Because Gurren Lagann kind of ended similar, where Simone, but Simone actually got the girl and married her. She just disappeared because she was a fucking AI robot or some shit like that. Spoiler alert. But after that, he just went off into the fucking wild and wilderness, and as far as I know, was never seen again. But that's how the dream ended. And I just remember, like, when I woke up, I just thought it was so weird that even in my dreams, I had foresaw that I was gonna walk a path through life alone. Even when I got the opportunity to have the girl, like, I gave it up just to be alone. It was so weird now that I think back to it, but it's kind of funny though. But I think that's just an example of how strongly I always felt in terms of leaning so much towards wanting to be a bachelor and loving the idea of enjoying the freedom that comes with being single. You know, even now, as I think about the possibility of being in a relationship, again, I still would like to have those experiences, but I can't honestly say that I can see myself being with somebody forever. Like, I kind of just look at the possibility of being in a relationship as like a temporary thing. And maybe that sounds kind of selfish, but that's really always how I envisioned it at best. Like, you know how some people want to go to Japan, or some people want to go to France, some people want to go to Europe. You know, most people want to travel or have a certain place in the world they want to go to. But for most people, at the end of the day, you want to come back home. Like, I would love to go visit Japan. I would like to live there. If I could, I would love to live there for like a year or two or something. But I would never want to live there permanently. You know, I have an attachment to my home, America. Maybe not forever, but that's really how I feel about dating. Like, I feel like to me, I look at relationships at like, I want to go visit a place. Like having a girlfriend to me is like a country I want to visit. I want to go there. I want to maybe live there for a while, but then I want to come back home to being single. But that's how I feel as a man who's been single his whole life. Maybe I would feel differently if I actually experienced being in a relationship. I'm just saying that's my perspective as a guy who has spent his whole life being single. So Twister says on the same video, wait, is that the same video? No, it's the How I Became a 30-Year-Old Virgin video. LOL, your story damn near mirrors mine. Same age and everything. Unless you're lucky or extremely attractive, you have to put effort in or it won't happen. I unfortunately didn't know this as a young teen either. When I think back to being a teenager, I remember thinking that, I think, and maybe I talked about this in the video actually, but I remember thinking that, I knew the odds were against me, because I knew that I wasn't gonna be out here chasing after hoes and shit. But I think there was a part of my mind that kind of felt like it would just happen. I wasn't betting on it, but there was a part of my mind that felt like it would just happen. And like I've said many times before, I think that whole experience with the hyper aggressive slutty cashier girl, I always felt like that was supposed to be my moment. That was, I don't just look at that as I could have smashed her and then that would have been it. And I could be wrong, but I always kind of felt like the way I just predicted shit in terms of like my sex life or lack thereof. And that part of my mind that was like, the odds are against you. You really could be a virgin for a long time, but shit just might happen. And then it did. I think that whole encounter with her was like that shit happening moment. But of course, my principles and morals got in the way. But I feel like that if I would have went forward with that, I think that would have opened up other doors and opportunities for me to have sex and maybe meet other girls. I could be wrong, but for some reason I think if I would have took that other door and said fuck that nigga, fuck my friend, I'm fucking his bitch, I'm losing my virginity. I think if I would have took that route, I just have this feeling in my gut that would have led me down a different trajectory in terms of sex and relationships. And that could mean that, you know, it could have been a confidence boost that would have made me more assertive with women. Maybe I would have met some new people through her, through being in a relationship with her. Who knows what could have happened? But I always had this feeling that was my moment. Like that was it. That was that 5% chance that I had calculated over pretty much the next decade. I think as I kind of look forward, I always kind of looked at my 20s as like the period to look at. Now that I'm in my 30s, just entering into it, I'm kind of looking at it in a different way in terms of like sex and relationships. But in my 20s, I kind of looked at like 30 as the big goal. But I knew or felt that there was a chance that I could run into like that small that small chance and opportunity to lose it easily. And it happened, but I had developed principles and morals by that point, so I didn't go through with it. But yeah, it's you know, I made a thread and I was kind of trolling throughout the thread. I didn't expect it to get the amount of attention that it did. I was kind of trolling my fellow virgins when I made this thread, but I do think it's it's some truth to what I said. And basically the thread was saying that has anyone else noticed that most adult virgins don't even really try to get laid or try to have sex? And oh man, like I definitely triggered a lot of my fellow virgins with that thread. I was kind of being cheeky, but that is something that I have noticed. And I think that one of the biggest things that will get in the way of a man getting laid, of a man getting pussy, is just not trying. I think not trying is one of course, again, your looks, your personality, money, all that. But really, when I look at a lot, I'm not saying all or even most, but I just know there's a lot of virgins in their 20s and 30s and shit. One thing that I've noticed is a consistent pattern is that they don't even really put a lot of effort into trying to get laid in the first place. A lot of those guys, I think, sort of mentally, a lot of those guys, I think, are just really mind fucked with disbelief and lack of confidence in themselves. And I don't think it's unreasonable given the state of dating right now. But I think a lot of guys just don't even really try. And when you don't try, I think that's just one of the best ways to line yourself up for a long experience as a virgin. Bobby Biro says on The Truth About Going Your Own Way, some people would say you are rationalizing to live with the pain of not serving the divine goddess. But I believe you. You have to do you. Follow your own path. You know, to this day, I see people saying the same shit. I see people saying, oh, MGTOW was a cope, or, you know, oh, sent their own way. I've had to just sort of accept that, you know, people, at the end of the day, people are just going to believe sometimes what they want to believe. And I'm no different. But one thing I can say, and I think the best way I can say it is that, because the reason why a lot of people would say, again, you're rationalizing you're coping is that their belief system is that you can't be happy without these experiences. You can't be okay with being a virgin. It's an impossibility. And I can sit here and say, no, you're wrong. But, you know, I've kind of come to the point where I'm just more of the mindset of maybe I'm just built different. Maybe people are just built different. The same way you got some people who are gay and straight. You got some people who are transsexual and all that. Maybe some people just have a fucking gene that allows them to function and be happy without having sex or being in relationships. And maybe I'm just that type of guy. Maybe I just have that magical that magical gene. And I think a lot of times, like I said, people just have a tendency to want to believe what they want to believe. But all I know is this, is that in my experience, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for the world and other guys. Although I do know other guys feel the same way as I do, you also have guys who feel the opposite. But I just know in my experience, being a virgin and being single has never been the reason, has never got in the way of me being happy. It's never got in the way of me enjoying life. Like I said before, I would love to have those experiences, but I just think you got to put things in proper perspective. And I think people just tend to look at things in such a black and white way. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say I never fantasized or had any desire to have those experiences. You know, again, I would love to, but not having it is not going to stop me from enjoying life. And I think that when that's your experience, this isn't my belief. This is how I feel. This is what it is. That's why I say, like, using the word experience is best for me describing how I feel, because it's an experience. I don't just feel it or think it or believe it. It's my experience. My experience is just that it's not something that has ever been a necessity for me to achieve happiness. And I think that when that's your experience, it's almost like leverage in a way. Because at the end of the day, everybody just wants to be happy. Everybody just wants to enjoy life. And when you have that, when you're in control of that, it's harder to be convinced to put yourself through bullshit and to put in an absorbent amount of effort to achieve and obtain things that you don't need. Because again, if you know how to be happy, if you know how to achieve happiness, then you know you have such a significant part of life already figured out. So T-Dot's Finest says on the How I Became a 30-Year-Old Virgin video, same situation. I'm 25, 26 in 2 months. But the difference between me and you is that I'm still in that depressive mode with low self-esteem and lack of self-love. But I'm slowly doing things to change that. The other thing is I've had maybe 2 or 3 girls in my entire life show somewhat interest in me without me putting that much of an effort, meaning changing my whole personality or going out of my way to change who I truly am. Those 2 or 3 girls all happened to be when I was in my first year of college. I think you would have had a similar experience if you had gone there. I'm black too, and I feel we look similar. Not like literally, but similar in terms of rating. I'm a bit overweight, but not super obese. 5'10" and 195. That kind of sounds like me and my friend. Like, I always felt like me and him were like similar in terms of like on a dating scale, like attractiveness. Like he's just like he's like a fat version of me. But I still feel like we're kind of equal. And he get of course he get way more bitches than me. That's the funny thing about it. I rate myself like a 6 or a 7 or 8 when I'm fit. I rate you similarly. You're not horrible looking at all. Oh, thanks, T-Dot. I know. Sorry if it's difficult to read. I want to edit my phone. I want to edit, but my phone is not letting me edit what I wrote before for some reason. You know, I was just talking about my chubby friend who is like the chubby version of me. And I always noticed how when he went to college, that's when everything jumped off for him. And just like you said, those two or three girls all happened to be when I was in my first year of college. I think you would have had a similar experience. And I always felt the same way. You know, I don't feel bad about it not happening. I don't regret it. But when I look at my friend, I just, because we're so, I'm not going to say like we're so similar. We're different in pretty significant ways. But I think that one similarity that we had was that throughout school, elementary, middle, high school, we were never the type of guys that girls really liked, you know. I think in high school, he be like, I would say I'm a late bloomer in terms of sort of finding myself and my swagger, if you will, my riz. But I think he started to find his earlier because he was playing football in high school. But even with that, it's like in high school, he never really found his footing with girls. He was on a football team and he was a damn good player. But it's just like, I don't know what it was. It was just like, I always felt like it was, if I had to guess, because when I look at his situation, he went from total virgin in high school, even as a football player, to having all these sexual experiences in college and finding his first serious girlfriend there as well. And I always felt like the reason for this was a combination of things. I think one was that, because you got to think about it, there wasn't a lot of time between his senior year in high school and going to college. So he didn't change that much. So what happened? And I always felt like it was one, the fact that he was around new people. I think that part of the problem, for him at least, was that girls at our school, like we all pretty much went to the same schools growing up for the most part. And so I think they kind of saw him, even though he was more mature, football player and all that, I think they still saw him as like I ain't gonna say like he wasn't weird like me, but he was the fat kid. He was the fat kid. And I think girls just always saw him as that. Even going into high school, I don't think he was able to shake the image or their perception of him as the fat kid. And I think going to college, he was able to sort of, I'm not going to say reinvent himself, maybe to a certain extent, but it's like it gave him the opportunity to start fresh, where people were able to see him as he was right there at that moment, you know, not as the fat nerdy kid. He was the guy who could just go to college and say, oh yeah, I played football in high school, I rap, I do this, I do that, you know, I smoke weed. And like he was just instantly able to just include himself with the, you know, a completely different crowd of people. And they didn't see him as he was as a kid. They saw him as the man that he was. And I think another thing too was just like the whole environment of college is there's this weird guy on the advice board who always gives people the same advice. He says, drop everything, go to college if you want to get laid. And he's kind of become a character on the ADV board. But as much as people love to argue against him, even a lot of people on ADV admit that college is the best place for a man to get laid, because it's, and the reason why it's the perfect environment is that, you know, you have all these young people who have their entire lives ahead of them. And it's like this, college is this sweet spot where you're an adult, but you don't necessarily have adult level responsibilities. I know Jordan Peterson, he calls it, I think, extended adolescence. But it really is kind of like that. You know, it's almost like this twilight zone of youth, of surreal youth, where you're an adult, but you don't have adult responsibilities. And now, of course, that's not always the case. You might be going to college to be a fucking lawyer, and you might live off campus and work part-time as a bartender. Like, some people go full adult mode even in college. But let's be real, a lot of people go to college and they don't really make the most of it. They don't go to college and work as hard as possible. They go there and kind of chill and breeze their way through. And when that's your approach, you know, again, it's a sweet spot where you're surrounded by available young women and men, whatever your taste might be. Maybe you're a woman and whatever. You're surrounded by young people with their whole lives ahead of them. And what's special about it is that, one, you're all in close proximity without you know, the standard level of adult supervision you're used to, where it's not taboo for men and women to mingle together and be in each other's rooms and shit like that. You don't gotta sneak girls or sneak guys over here. Like, you guys are adults in an adult environment, pretty much. And you're free to kind of come and go as you please. And what's also good about college for dating or meeting people, I think, is the fact that girls aren't looking at you to really have your shit together like that either. You know, like, you don't have to have your own place because you got a dorm. It would help, but you got a dorm. You don't need to have a car because everybody's on campus together. You can walk over here, walk over there. I know they would have buses to go to, like, even he would tell me about going to the club. They use buses to go to. So my whole point is that from everything that I've heard about college, it's just the perfect environment to lose your virginity, to find a girlfriend. Like, I can't think of a better place. I wouldn't even say like clubs, because some guys don't like the idea of finding a girl in the bar or club because they feel like she's gonna be a hoe. You know, at least in college, you got a chance of finding a girl who might not be a hoe. She probably gonna be a hoe anyway. But I'm kind of going too long on this. But the bottom line is, I think I do agree. I think if I would have went to college, if I would have went to a traditional 4-year college, if I would have went to a go into debt college, I think that more than likely I would have had sex. I think more than likely I would have lost my virginity. Because I think one of the big things that has held me back, other than my complete disregard for putting in effort, but it's not that I have never been receptive to it. I think that's the key. You know, I just don't try. But really, when I talked to my friend, he didn't try a lot either. You know, a lot of the situations that he ended up getting laid in, it was really like, you know, people were just hanging out, and then, you know, you're in this casual environment where, oh, you want to smoke over here? Oh, we're gonna smoke over there. Like, I'll put it like this. Like this is the beauty of the college environment and why it's so conducive to getting laid, even without putting in a lot of effort. Let's just say, for example, you smoke weed. My friend smoked weed. You got a friend who also smoked weed. He say, yo, we're going to go smoke over here in this dorm or wherever. You go there and there's 3 dudes, 4 girls. And then you guys just riffing back and forth, talking and shit. And then, like, you start talking to one of the girls. And then, boom, it just starts from there. And I think the average guy nowadays just doesn't have those types of opportunities. What's that bar? Only girls I talk to are the cashiers. That's true. The only girls I ever talk to are service workers. You know, cashiers and girls working at a fucking desk somewhere. You know, hello, here you go, goodbye. I never had the opportunity to really just talk with a girl. Never, really. I swear. Now that I think about it, I never have opportunities to talk to girls in a casual setting just about fucking life. Right? And I could be wrong, but I do agree. I think if I went to college, I probably would have lost my virginity, basically. Okay. So Rob Ramsey says on the How I Became a 30-Year-Old Virgin video, 30 years old, got a girlfriend, but still a virgin because happy with myself. Made their relationship stronger. Wait a minute. 30 years old, got a girlfriend. Okay, but still a virgin. Wait a minute. Got a girlfriend, but still a virgin. Whoa. Made the relationship stronger because of the self-fulfillment. You are on the right track. As we be ourselves, everything else will flow. Got a girlfriend, but still a virgin. I don't know. Look, I'm not throwing shade. It's just like, I guess I can't fathom it because I feel like if I get a girlfriend and like, if we get to that point where it's like, it's official, you're my girlfriend, I'm going to want to grab some titties. Like, I feel like the second I get that confirmation, I'm just gonna grab like like a fucking anime scene or something, just straight. Maybe relationships don't work like that, but I just always had this thought in my head. Like, I swear, the second it's confirmed, girlfriend, I'm grabbing titties. At least. Like, well, time for me to grab a boob. But you are on the right track. As we be ourselves, everything else will flow. And see, this kind of goes back to what I said earlier about why, you know, I don't try to fake the funk with girls. Why I would tell a girl that I'm a virgin. Because I think that the good thing about being so open and real about who you are is that if you ever do find a girl, if you ever get a girlfriend, I think there's a higher chance that you guys are going to be more compatible. But not only that, I think it kind of reminds me of what Wheat Waffles said one time. I had a podcast talking about his content and whatnot. Definitely a good one. Go check him out. But he said that his best experiences with women were the times where he didn't have to try very hard, you know. And I think, really, if I'm being completely honest, that's the kind of girl that I want. You know, I want the girl who likes me. I want the girl who takes an interest in me, you know. And I don't want to feel like I have to be a dancing monkey. I don't want to feel like I have to be her fucking court gesture and be walking on eggshells trying to appease her and being worried about saying the wrong thing or picking up the coat wrong. I don't want to live like that, you know. I remember when the slutty cashier girl was all on my dick. One thing that stood out to me was just the feeling of being enough. That was the best thing about that whole experience. Was that I just felt like I was good enough. And I think whenever I envision myself asking a girl out, like a strange girl that I don't know, which is all girls, I feel like I get jester vibes. I just get, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I always get those jester vibes. Like, I gotta impress, like, I feel like if I approach a girl, then it's my job to impress her and whatever. And obviously, a girl ain't just gonna be with you for no reason. So, you know, you gotta do something right. So I'm not saying it like it's unreasonable, but I just remember that with the experience with that slutty cashier girl, that the feeling of feeling like I was enough, that was the best thing about it. Where it's just it's hard to describe, man. It's I guess when you're happy and you have self-love and self-respect and integrity and dignity and all these things, you know, I don't wake up feeling like a bad person. I don't wake up feeling inadequate. You know, I have problems. I have things I internally and externally I need to overcome. But, you know, I'm riding with myself. I'm with myself through the journeys, the journey of life up and down. And when a girl is expressing like high interest in you and you just don't feel like you have to go off track to appease her, like you can stay on this the trajectory you were already on, the path you were walking, chasing the dreams that you want, the goals that you set up for yourself. It's a good feeling. And I think that's what Rob means about being on the right track, and how you be yourself and the right people will show up in your life. I truly believe that. And look, I'm not saying that it's going to end up with me having a girlfriend, but I just think if I ever do get a girlfriend, I can be extra proud about it because I would have known that, I was able to get her without lying and deceiving her and trying to be something that I'm not. So the last comment for this video is from Haha with a story mark on the How I Became a 30-Year-Old Virgin video. One of the best posts I remember from R9K, I think, was similar to what you described in your mid-20s. It was along the lines of basically you should work on yourself and then get to the point that you're totally happy with yourself in your life. And then the idea is to go for women then. But at that point, why would you introduce a woman into a life where you are happy? Introducing a woman into your life at that point will almost certainly disrupt it. I think in your mid-20s, that time was pivotal. If at that point you had decided to start going for girls, focused on getting a job, shaping up, etc., you would have got into a relationship and got married if you had turned your attention to that. But I'm glad for your sake you didn't, because you seem so content now. I don't think that life would have made you happy. Now, I must object. I don't think I would have got married. I don't think I would have got married. I will say that. But one thing, and I think I said this before on one of my mini Virgin Nightwall vlogs, but I was talking about how, embracing my virginity was the best decision I ever made. And I stand on that. And it's like you said, the time in my mid-20s that was pivotal. And the reason why I think embracing my virginity was such a good decision was because when I look back at myself at that age, I noticed how much I was lacking in maturity. I don't think there was any way that I really could have been in a relationship at that age and not have either allowed myself to have gotten hurt or fucked up in a significant way from the girl. And that could be through manipulation, deceit, whatever, typical female fuck your whole life up type shit. Or I would have hurt her through not being or not having had processed or dealt with, my own personal demons. Because a lot of times we hurt the people around us because, not because of specifically what they've done, but because, we might be upset or dealing with an internal struggle or problem. And when we haven't properly processed that or dealt with these issues, the tiniest thing can trigger you. Like, just for example, let's say you have like anger issues and you get overly emotional, and then you have a bad day at work, and then you come home and then your girlfriend does something like super insignificant. Like she ate the damn cookies that you wanted to eat after work, and you might blow up at her over some shit like that. It's not the cookies that's the issue. It's really the accumulated anger and frustration that you built up at work. And because of your lack of maturity, you weren't able to properly process that or put those emotions to the side to realize that, she ate my cookies, but I'm really getting mad because I'm upset about my day. What she did ain't worth me blowing up at her. Like, that's the type of shit that I'm talking about when I say like a lack of maturity. Like, when I look at the way I'm in control of my emotions now, when I can feel myself getting triggered or angry, but then take the time to say, wait a minute, it's not what this person is doing that's making me upset. I'm mostly upset over this shit, and this little thing is just tipped me over the edge. So I need to put my feelings to the side and make sure I don't treat this person wrong because I've just accumulated so much negative energy. I need to just, separate myself from this situation and process the shit. That's how a mature man deals with his emotions. You don't ignore it, you process it, but you also don't, let it overtake you and then take it out on other people. And, again, I think for me, it was important. I think it was important really for me to be a virgin for so long. I think I'm not going to say like now I'm ready for a relationship. I would just say that now I'm in a better position in terms of my maturity. I think I could handle it a lot better than I would have at 25. Definitely a lot better. Right? Like, I think I probably could have been mature enough for a relationship starting at about 27. I'm just being real. I think it's maybe by 27 I would have been ready. But anytime before that, I really don't think I had the maturity. And just like you said, I could have went down a completely different path. And it's funny because I just I mentioned this earlier about my friend. And remember when I was telling you about his first serious relationship and how, she wanted things from him that he wasn't ready to give. She wanted him to get a house together and then the cars and all that. And he wasn't ready for that. And what's funny is that my friend was a rapper just like me. In fact, he was a better rapper than I was. And I remember when he was in college, he was focused. I just remember I looked at him and I was like, damn, my friend has really turned, like he found his swag. Like I was doing bad. This was me doing like my depression phase. But he just took off. He was in college. He found his swag, like in terms of like his appearance. Like he was looking cool. He had like this cool stoner persona. And he was a rapper too. And so, he was showing people his music and getting good responses. I remember he told me this one story about how he heard this one girl listening to his songs in her car. And so like he was really on his shit. Then he got into the relationship with the girl, with the first serious relationship shit. And she took him completely off all that. And I remember, and we were discussing all this weekend. And I reminded him, because he said it himself, that he made a mistake with, getting into a serious relationship at that age. And I remember specifically, right before he got serious with her, because he was telling me all these things. And I remember telling him, I was like, yo, like right now it's the time for you to just really enjoy your life, bro. Like you need to have your fun. You got these girls, dude, make your music. Like I was encouraging him to basically follow his dreams. And instead he went the path of serious girlfriend, which, normally wouldn't sound bad. But I think now in the red pill and the manosphere, it's pretty much common knowledge and commonly said that young men shouldn't prioritize serious relationships because of exactly what happened in his case, where he and I remember he told me this when he was in the midst of this relationship, he didn't feel comfortable like pursuing his music dreams around her. He put all that shit to the side and just turned himself into a work drone. He started working at like Target, different jobs and shit like that. And don't get me wrong, like from a responsibility standpoint, he did a lot of good things. Like I think the upside was that in that relationship, it kind of pushed him to take on responsibilities and get himself adjusted to like work life and things that I really avoided for too long, right? Admittedly. But at the same time, he had completely given up on his dreams and his goals because he was trying to be something that he wasn't. And then when the relationship fizzled out, he had nothing to show for it. The house they got together, or I think it was an apartment, but same shit, right? The apartment they had together, he got kicked out, she kept it. The car, lost the car, had to move back home with his mom. I mean, everything that he worked for was for her. And so when the relationship was over, he didn't have anything to show for it. And so one thing that I can say, a lot of people look at me and say, oh, he's 30, live with his mama and all that shit. But I can look back at my 20s and look at specifically the things that I gained that have immense value to me. I've created classic music that people across the world listen to and will continue to listen to for years. Like, that's special for an artist. I've created a YouTube channel with a small following that it doesn't make a lot of money, but it put a little money in. The fact that I've made money off this shit, again, that's special. I've touched people and influenced people and inspired people. And even outside of like music and content creation, I've overcome personal demons. I've achieved happiness and self-love. I've dealt with social anxiety and depression and suicide. Like, I can check off so many things that I did other than making money. and look, that's no excuse for me to be broke. I fumbled the bag, obviously, but I can look at the things that I did do and say, okay, I have that, I have this, I have that. And pretty much like what Mark said, I think had I made relationships and sex the focus, I think I would have made the same mistake as my friend, which is, putting so much into something at the end is not going to have any return. It's not going to be something that I can look at and say, okay, I did that or I have that. And, just to kind of close off on this point, I remember a few years ago, me and this same friend, we were hanging out at the park and he said something I never forgot. He said, out of all the girls that I've been with, I can't call any of them and ask them for a favor. Basically saying like out of all the experiences that he had with these girls and shit, it never amounted to a relationship or a bond where he could continue to benefit off of it, like a friendship, and really I'm not close to a lot of my associates and friends that I know in real life, but I know that if I reach out to them, we can link up and set something up. And I might even be able to ask them for favors and shit. I know a couple guys I could call up and we could do music together. We could do this and hang out and shit. I'm just a homebody, not very social, so I don't use those powers. But, I always just found that interesting, that what he said, out of all those experiences and he had with those girls, he can't call any of them up and ask for shit. But yeah, I just wanted to respond to some comments for you guys. This month, I'm going to be like rapidly releasing content, so stay tuned. Anime review, podcast, a little music, things like that. So, Chad Marcos signing off. Johnny.